So, I have a very special treat today. I am talking to our very own Kathleen Guthrie Woods. Most of you know Kathleen from her It Got Me Thinking column on Fridays. She's also the editor of our stories. And many of you know her story. And you'll know that one of the things that she has struggled with, like many of us, is how to redefine herself now that she knows that she is not going to be a mother. So she has a project that she's been working on, and I'm going to talk to her about that today. Kathleen, it's nice to actually see you in person.
I know, you too. This is so fun. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your project, 52 Nudges.
Well, 52 Nudges is a practice of every week challenging myself to nudge myself out of my nest of complacency. So to start, I just created a list of various tasks designed to inspire creativity and shake me out of routines and force me to do self-care. Notice I just said force. I'm terrible at self-care. And just have some fun. So what I did is I created a list of these tasks and I cut them into little strips. Actually, this is my jar. And I took each strip and I wad it into a little ball and I put it in here. And every Sunday around noon, I pull one out, and that is my required nudge for the week. So just, you know what, I just pulled one out. This is not for this week, but this will give you an example. So this one says, experiment with cake decorating tools, which is something that has been on my to-do list forever. I've always said I should take a class. I am totally not like artistically gifted, but it's just always seemed so fascinating and fun to me. So at some point, I'm going to draw this thing and I'm going to have to pull out some cake decorating tools and figure out how to do it. So wad it back in the bowl.
All right. So
and further, it started out as something that was just for me. And I decided to blog because I wanted to hold myself accountable and make sure I didn't flake. And the fun thing is that I now have readers and followers who are doing this with me and offering feedback and suggestions, which motivates me even more to keep going.
Okay. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about the genesis of this. So, you know, a lot of the readers here on Life Without Baby know you from your It Got Me Thinking column. So back up a little bit and tell us about how you got from, oh my God, I'm not going to be a mother, to redefining yourself and starting this project. And if you could talk a little bit, because I'm sure there are going to be some people thinking like, oh my God, I went my whole life to redefine here. I don't have time to be thinking about like how is it going to help me to decorate a cake this week? So if you know, because it feels like your whole life needs to be reinvented, and so tell us a little bit about that and how you went through that process to come to where you are now.
Yeah, and everything you said, it's all so interconnected. Let me start by saying that I have a very privileged life. I have a fantastic husband. I have great friends. I have a career that I have loved. But the reality is that the last few years, I have started to feel consistently, for lack of a better word, just tired. And, I just had no energy to enact, let alone figure out what my plan B was supposed to be. And it didn't feel like a midlife crisis or crisis of faith. And I wasn't depressed. It wasn't any of those things. It was just this really strong desire and a strong calling to discover who I am and what I'm meant to be and what is authentic for me. So sorry about that. So certainly there's no surprise that this was linked to my journey of making peace of a life without children. You know, I knew at some point I would work through the grief. I had to trust that, and I would have to find literally a replacement life plan, because for the first 4 decades of my life, I assumed I'd be filling these decades as a mother. And then you don't, and then what's there? And I kept, in the process of working through the grief stages, I would look at that. Okay, I've got to have a plan B. How do I figure out? How do I start to figure out what I want? But of course, that's overwhelming. So that big project of whole life overhaul gets put on the back burner well, you deal with the other fires that come in front, whether it's work or home or whatever. And I just didn't know how to figure it all out for myself. So of course, then I got slammed, for lack of a better word. It was actually last Thanksgiving, and I got news that there was going to be some changes to the laws that essentially was going to close my business. And this is a business that I started from nothing about 20 years ago. And, again, abruptly, urgently, I am now today facing an overhaul, complete whole life overhaul. So, okay, plan B. I mean, at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do when I woke up the next day, kind of scariness. As it turned out, I talked to financial advisors and didn't close my business. Everything kind of worked out. But as this whole thing unfolded, what surprised me was that I didn't go into complete panic, which I should have. I felt excited. I felt really excited, like, okay, I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring, but I'm looking forward to finding out what it is and experimenting and taking some risks. And it was really, again, it was surprising. I thought, okay, I got to roll with this a little bit. But then I had to figure out, well, how am I going to figure this out? And I knew I couldn't do Eat, Pray, Love, right? Which I wish. So I started searching for a book or a conference or an online course, some program that I could do over the course of the year that would help me discern my path and reveal what this next chapter of my life is going to be. And I wanted to find that thing that would make me want to just leap out of bed in the morning. Well, I couldn't find that program, so I created it.
Love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit then about sort of some of these steps that you have drawn from your little box there and experimented with and some of the things that you have discovered about yourself.
Okay. First, I should tell you that I have some rules definitely in quotes, for what these nudges are.
Okay.
It has to be something I can complete within 1 week. It can't be expensive. Eat, Pray, Love. I have different nudges for different parts of my life. So there might be something creative or something work related or something about the home or like the cake decorating thing, something that's just fun. And they all have to make me a little bit uncomfortable. So those are the guidelines.
Okay.
And I should also mention that I wanted to start with small steps. I can't call them baby steps. That's a life without baby thing I just can't go to. I couldn't face that whole life overhaul all at once. I had to take this little chunk. This much I can do, right? And this much I can do. And if I string it together, maybe I'll get here. That was sort of the thinking behind it. So the very first nudge I drew when I sort of threw this thing together was break a rule. And it was perfect. I wasn't sure what would be presented to me in that first week, what rule might be broken, although I knew I wasn't going to break a law. I knew that distinction. And as it turned out, I heard about this job kind of randomly, and I looked at the job listing, and I was not quite right for it. I was missing some of the key elements. And I thought, oh, all right, so there you go, whatever, I'll keep looking for something else. And I thought, well, why not? You know what if I contact this person and say, here's why I'm right enough. And so I did it. And that's like a big no-no, right? You don't do that. But I got a reply within a few minutes to my email. And it didn't actually turn out, the whole thing didn't work out. We talked, and for many reasons, that it wasn't a great fit. However, realized is what I noticed was how great I felt having taken the risk. And it just reminded me that at heart, I am a risk taker, not jumping out of a plane kind of person, but someone who thrives when I go after opportunities where it's not completely mapped out. And I've become too comfortable. I don't do that enough. And I'm creative and brave, and I like to have fun. And I hadn't used those muscles in a really long time. So come back to that. The ideas that helped me make up the list came from remembering things that I loved doing as a child that I haven't done in a long time, any creative endeavors, physical and mental challenges, spiritual practices, to-dos that have been on my list for a long time, cake decorating. And there's on the website on the right side, there's a column that has some resources that has some books and websites, things that have inspired different ideas. Anyway, I think one of the interesting things is that some of the ones that seem really simple actually then have deep impacts that are fun and surprising. And one of the examples I like to share is I had one that said, buy fresh flowers for the office. And I picked that thing around noon. I was headed to the grocery store. I spent $5 on a little bunch of flowers. My desk looked pretty, totally done, right? But the interesting is by the end of the week, I started to really sort of study during a meditation these flowers and these simple flowers, and getting an appreciation for how really intricate and delicate and complex they were. And that turned into an appreciation for my own work. And I know this sounds like a leap, but these are some of the ahas that seem totally unrelated to a vase of flowers on my desk. And I just took a moment to recognize that some of the work that I do looks so simple when it's polished and it's done. But for me to get there, a lot of work happens behind the scenes or under the surface. And I ended up having this appreciation for my experiences and my skills and my abilities, things that I have not acknowledged in years, you know? So yeah, easy step and big percussions. So that's one. Trying to think some of the, wear red lipstick every day was actually really painful. And wear the nice jewelry. And these sound really frivolous on the surface, but they actually were two of my biggest aha moments of determining what was really authentic for me, and got huge reader feedback. And some of that was just recognizing of how we can move forward when we unburden ourselves from the shoulds in our life. We should do this, we should do that, we should wear this, we should look like this. And suddenly you go, that's not who I am. And it's such, it's so liberating, you know? And then hopefully I keep that in mind as I make decisions in other parts of my life moving forward. What's right for me in this moment, period.
Right. That's great. Okay, so you decided to blog about this and put it out there. So as I understand it, you draw your task on a Sunday, you post a little bit about it, and then you go and tackle it, and then the next week you post your learnings and your feedback about what happened.
So, and sometimes it happens during the week. Like there are some that I completed on a Wednesday, and so I'll post Thursday morning. So it isn't just every Sunday. Sometimes things come up during the week where I can finish it. Sometimes it takes the whole week. I mean, this isn't a perfect plan. This is the way life happens, and that's kind of the way I want it. This is real stuff happening in real life. To that point, I've had a couple that were total duds.
Right.
And that happens because this is what we're doing.
Sure. I mean, you really don't find those things out, first time out. You try something and discover that really, might have been something that you loved as a child, but it's certainly not something that is right for you anymore. Okay. So you've had, you've got a following now, you've got a readership, and you've got some people playing along with your nudges, right?
Yes, I do. It's really
fun. So tell us some of the things about some of the other people's experiences that you've heard about.
I've gotten a bunch of emails about, again, things like, there's one of my favorite ones was go to a new market. I get in such a rut if I go to this supermarket and that little specialty market and that's it. And I challenged myself, I don't want to give it all away, but I challenged myself to go to this Chinese market down the street where everything was written in Chinese. And it was literally like stepping into a portal and going to a different country. It was fascinating and very intimidating, and then also really fun. And I had a lot of people write to me and say they either did that or they went to a new ethnic restaurant or new to them, a restaurant. Or I had one woman say that she and her husband go to the same restaurant on date night all the time, and she ordered something different on the menu and discovered she loved this other dish that she'd never had before. And that's just, I mean, that's just it. It just starts you on the path of new things. Mm-hmm. And there's that small step, the bigger step. And there's one story, I can't share it yet because it's not all the way finished, but I got an email from a woman who had been casually following the blog, and she wasn't really doing it with me. She was just sort of reading along to see what I was doing. But in the process, she had been wrestling with this big decision in her life. And everyone around her, family, coworkers, friends, was telling her, you should do this, you should do that. And she was really struggling, and she couldn't figure it out. And there was something in one of the blogs that I read that she looked at it and just, that light went off. And she tailored it sort of to fit her own needs. And in that couple of days period, she finally came to the decision that was right for her. Wow. And she wrote to me about how she had been working so hard to meet other people's expectations in this decision. And when she finally made the decision right for her, it was like this huge weight was lifted off her, one. And two, she was finally genuinely excited about moving forward with her plans. And I was so overcome with emotion when I got this letter. And you think about, the ripple effects that come from this. If I'm, I start out this whole silly project came out of my own frustration. And so I create something which I share with others, which inspires them to get authentic with themselves, and they share their wins with me, which then inspires me to keep going. And I think in some way we're all making the world a little bit better for all of us. And that,
yeah. Well, what I really keep feeling and seeing as you talk about this is that sense of joy. And I think for so many of us, no matter what our situation, it's so easy to lose that and so hard
True.
To find it again. And especially when you're dealing with, some of the really big stuff in life, like we're dealing with on Life Without Baby, and like all of us are dealing with out in our business lives and our personal lives. And so, that loss of joy, I know I have certainly felt that just, there is no joy in my life. I don't know how to find it. And I love that this feels doable.
Well, and the thing, you brought up another one. One of them was teach my dog, Louie, and me a new trick. And I had so much fun with this. And in the process of doing it, was just a few minutes out of my day, right? But I started to realize how little I allow myself to have fun. Mm-hmm. And those words, force and allow, and I go, what is wrong with us? But then I get it, because I look at my daily schedule, all of us, how busy we are and how much we're so busy taking care of other people that we get pushed to the bottom of the list, right? And so for me, it's about being intentional and working that fun and that joy into my everyday life until it comes naturally, and I don't have to do that anymore. That's what I'm working towards right now.
So what are some of the most fun nudges that you pulled out?
Definitely, it was that teaching Louie a new trick. It was absolutely hilarious. He's such a cutie patootie. The going to the Chinese market was just a kick in the pants. I'm trying to think what some of the other ones have been. Oh, I have one. Oh, shoot, which one was it? Anyway, sorry, I'm drawing a little blank right now.
Sorry, trick question.
The dog one was good. Can we come back to that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Well, I recall there was a poetry one and a singing one, right? Oh, were you allowed to talk about those?
Did I do a singing one? Did I learn a new song? That's on the list. I don't know if I've done that one yet. Okay. It's definitely on the list, is to learn a new song, because that was because as a kid, I was very musical, sang all the time. And the last time I actually learned and performed a song was 2 years ago. And that used to be an everyday rehearsal, was part of my everyday. And it wasn't just having to rehearse. It was an absolute passion of mine. And again, I don't do it. But the memorizing the poem was the same thing, is that I used to do theater. And so I was always memorizing things. And and that muscle has not been exercised. And so I picked a Shakespearean sonnet, and I memorized it, and then I performed it for my husband at the end of the week, and I nailed it. I was very proud of myself, and it was really fun. I actually still have it hanging in my office just as a reminder of, hey, if I ever get asked to perform somewhere, at some dinner party, anybody know a poem? I'll be like, I know a sonnet.
So for people who are watching and thinking, I need to do something like this, and I need to start finding that joy in my life again. So what are some suggestions for where to start looking for these ideas?
Where I looked, I literally did brainstorm, what do I remember of when I was a kid, the things that I absolutely loved to do that I totally lost myself in. I actually, along the way, I interviewed my sister and a couple of girlfriends who I've known for a long time. And I said, what were your first impressions of me? My sister was a little different, but what do you remember of me growing up? Like, how would you have described me, personality and interests? And there were some not surprises. Like, again, I was known for singing and theater and stuff, but there were other surprises. Like, my one girlfriend and I, we used to make up recipes in the kitchen when we were like 6 years old. And I'd kind of forgotten about that. And that's something I normally do. And that's on the list there of try a new recipe, which I do normally. But I think, again, so much of my cooking has become because we need to be fed. And I have to do this, whatever, instead of being in that kitchen and being really present and enjoying that time. So anyway, so talking to some old friends and family members and just sort of like journaling, brainstorming. And then different books that I read just gave me ideas of, I'm actually rereading this book called Lessons for Madame Chic by Jennifer Scott. And I reread it every couple of years because she just has some really great tips on living well. And I try to incorporate those here and there. And one of hers, which is already on the list, is, use the good china. Use the good silver. Enjoy those treasures. You always hear the stories about somebody cleaning out their parents' home and they find that crystal vase wrapped in plastic that's never been used because they were saving it for a special occasion, or the fancy lingerie, right? You save that for someday special and it never gets worn. Well, I want to enjoy these things right now. So one other thing I did was I went through the course catalog for junior college. And I marked everything that even interested me in the slightest bit, which is why this is not on my nudges list, but I'm actually learning Italian badly. I know learning a French phrase was one of them on there early. Mm-hmm. So, it's just sort of take your time and be aware. And when something comes up in a book and you think, God, I'd like a piece of that, or I'd like to enjoy that. Well, how can you do that in a small way during a week and experience it?
I love it.
And then feel free to come visit my list and use it. I tell people, if you come do this with me, there is no set start point. There is no other than my rules that I told you about. Jump in, come do them with me.
Yeah, so people can just jump in this week, see what you're doing, and then Absolutely. Do it, or do something similar, and
or just read along and be inspired, and maybe it'll inspire you to do something different. But just just jump in, just start somewhere, do something small that's nice for yourself.
I love it. I need to do that myself, I think. I'm already, as I'm sitting here, conjuring my own list of the things that used to bring me a lot of joy that I haven't done for a long, long time. Yeah. I've written about this on the blog, as you know, about just like trying to find joy again, and how hard it is to even get to the point of taking that first step to find joy, let alone getting out there. So this is great. So tell me, what do you hope? What do you hope for this project? I mean, it was I know you didn't set out with an intention other than to do it for yourself, but what do you hope's going to come from this?
My original intent was to do 52 nudges in 52 weeks, and then kind of be done with it. But I have gotten so much out of it that at this point I don't have a stop date in mind. I think I will continue to add new nudges, especially as readers share their ideas too. There's always fun things. Also, there are some nudges that I did that I want to make more a part of my regular life, and I want to devote some more time and energy to them. Dealing with the clutter in my office is something that I'd really love to get done.
Well, that's not joy.
It's not, but I think the result could be joyful. I had early on, I did a week of meditating every day for a short amount of time, and it was really beneficial, but I have not continued that practice. And I think that has a place. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I hope that I will always be a person who is eager to continue to learn and grow. I hope this never stops.
Oh, I hope that too, because I learn and grow from you as well, which is always good. That's always good. Well, as always, I mean, it's a pleasure to actually talk to you face to face. We talk on the blog a lot, but I really appreciate you coming and sharing this project. So if people want to come and check out, I'll put the link below, but it's kathleen-inc.com/blog 52 nudges.
That's correct.
Well, I will write that down in the comments below, so that if somebody wants to come along and check it out, they can do that.
Please do.
Kathleen,
please have fun with me.
yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thanks for taking the time to come and share this project with us today.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.